Thank you, Rajani. Want to begin with a Shanti mantra. So if you don't mind, please close your eyes. Om Bhadram Karne Vishrunayama Deva Bhadram Pashe Makshabhirya Jatra Sthirairangaye Tuštuvang Sastanube Vyashema Deva Hitayadayu Swasti na Indro Vruddhashava Swasti na Pusha Vishvaveda Swasti nastarksho Arishthanemi Swasti no Bruhaspatir Dadatu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May we hear what is good and auspicious with our ears. May we see what is good with our eyes. May we be prayerful in life with calmness of body and mind. May we serve God throughout our life. Om peace, peace, peace. I bow to the entire lineage of Kriya Yoga masters. I bow to the saints and sages of all religions, of all places, of all times. I bow to the Almighty God, and I bow to all of you. Good afternoon to all of you. And thank you for this opportunity, Rajani, to spend some time with all my friends. Now this talk will be on Mundak Upanishad. For those who do not know what Upanishads are part of Vedas. And Vedas are, as we know, ancient scriptures. Upanishads are also called Vedanta. Vedanta means the essence of Vedas, not the end of Vedas. Vedas and Upanishads are not creation of human mind, but were revealed to the sages in deep meditation. That is why Vedas and Upanishads are called apaurushaya, not created by human beings. The word Upanishad is a meaningful word also. It has three parts: Upa plus Ni plus Shad. Upa means close to. Ni means in totality, leaving no remnant behind. And Shad means completely annihilating. Well, annihilation of what? Annihilation of my ignorance about who I am. So Upanishad means once I get close to the wisdom of Upanishad, my ignorance about my real nature gets completely annihilated, giving the understanding of my true nature. Now, let us briefly talk about Mundak Upanishad. It is one of the oldest Upanishads. Mundaka Upanishad talks about an accomplished, eminent householder called Mahashala Shaunaka, who had achieved success in many fields in his life. Over the years, he had realized that the results of all the efforts that he had put in learning various things, becoming successful in them, were impermanent. They were only temporary. Shaunaka approaches sage Angirasa in order to seek something that is permanent. So he asks sage Angirasa, Kasminnu bhagavo vidnyate sarvavidam vidnyatam bhavati. Kasminnu bhagavo vigyate sarvavidam vigyatam bhavati. O revered master, is there one thing in this world knowing which everything else becomes known? Beautiful. Is there one thing in this world knowing which everything else becomes known? Do not need to know anything else. Sage Angirasa explains to him that there are two types of knowledge: lower knowledge and higher knowledge. Lower knowledge called Apara Vidya, higher knowledge is called Paravidya. Sage Angirasa is giving him a comprehensive response. Apara Vidya, well, let us understand Apara Vidya in contemporary sense. Okay, Apara Vidya means knowledge that gives mastery over the external elements in this world. All the studies and research that have been done, which put man on the moon, development in the technology that has put room-sized computer in the palm of our hand, vaccines that have eliminated several fatal diseases, and we can relate to that right now. Ability, it has given us ability to harness electricity, solar power, wind power, in order to make our life more productive and comfortable. All that external knowledge is indispensable for our advancement and comfort. The definition of Apara Vidya evolves as humanity evolves. Apara Vidya is described in the Mundak Upanishad is the study of Vedas. Vedas have two parts called Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda. While Jnana Kanda covers Upanishads, Karma Kanda is the ritualistic aspect of Vedas that describe various kinds of worships, powerful mantras that are chanted during those worships, and homas or the fire ceremonies. Precise method of performing the worships and the fire ceremonies are in the Vedas. So it's not for everybody to chant those mantras. One needs to be trained and one needs to be expert in 6 different disciplines of knowledge. And those are Shiksha, Kalpa, Vyakarana, Niruktam, Chandaha, and Jyotisham. Let's take one at a time. Shiksha, that is science of pronunciation. Those who know Sanskrit, they know very well that Sanskrit needs to be pronounced accurately, properly. Kalpa is code of rituals. Since this part of Vedas is about rituals, there is a discipline into that one needs to understand. Vyakarana, of course, grammar. Niruktam, etymology. One needs to be conversant with etymology to understand the meaning of everything that is chanted. And chanda, you cannot just say it whichever way you want to. It needs to be sung properly. This is a science of music, science of singing. And Jyotisham, astrology. So this shows us how comprehensive the study needs to be in order to chant those mantras, perform those ceremonies, because the results achieved by chanting those mantras, those fire ceremonies, they are guaranteed results. So what do these worships and fire ceremonies are performed for what? For fulfilling certain desires of the worshipper. So they're based on desires. Desires generate actions and actions generate results of the actions. Good results, bad results, which are called karma phala. So action is karma, result of the action, karma phala. Now these worships and fire ceremonies are extremely powerful, as I said. The result that one achieves, if the sum total of the results are good karma, they're on the positive side, then the performer after death gets to go to heaven. Based on the amount of good karma that he has collected, he or she gets to spend that much amount of time in heaven. But once that good karma gets exhausted, one has to return. So this stay in heaven is also temporary. I'm pretty sure Mahashala Shaunaka was aware of that. That's the reason he approached sage Angirasa. One has to return to earth, take birth, live another life, and the cycle of life and death continues. So sage Angirasa was leading Shaunaka to that one thing that Shaunaka was interested in. The knowledge of Brahman, Brahma Vidya or Para Vidya. That is how sage Angirasa starts explaining Para Vidya to Mahashala Shaunaka. Para Vidya is the knowledge that will help us understand our true nature. Para Vidya contains the wisdom that will answer the age-old question, who am I? Who am I? What is my real nature? Am I the body and the mind or something beyond that? There is a simple but profound definition of Paravidya. Yaya tad aksharam adhigamyate, meaning knowledge which helps one completely, inseparably merge into the divine. There are two key words here. Aksharam, that is the absolute, the indestructible, Brahman, and Adhigamyate. In Sanskrit, the gam dhatu, to understand. But prefix adhi, it changes the meaning. It means totally destroying the traces of separateness and merging completely into that. So, yayata, that knowledge which helps me to merge completely into the divine, into Brahman. That is Paravidya. That is the definition of Paravidya. Totally destroying the traces of separateness, total oneness with divine. Aham Brahmasmi, thou art that. Now, let us try to understand what is Akshara. Akshara means indestructible, immutable Brahman described in these two verses. Now, these two verses are not enough to describe Brahman, but we will take these two verses, first two chapters of Mundak Upanishad, along with sub-chapters. They're devoted to understanding Apara and Paravidya. So these two verses, they're important verses. Let me read them. Yat tat adresham agrayam agotram avarnam cha achakshushrotram tat apani padam nityam vibhum sarvagatam susukshmam tad avyayam yat bhuta yonim paripashyanti dhira. Yat tad means that which. Adreshyam means not visible to the eyes. Excuse me. With the example of eyes, it is meant to cover all the sense organs, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin. So it cannot be perceived by the sense organs. Agrayam means it cannot be grasped or held by hands. Again, by the example of hands, it is implied that all the organs of action, hands, feet, mouth, organs of procreation and elimination, they cannot perceive it. Organs of perception cannot understand it. Organs of action cannot perceive it. A gotram. Gotra means root or connection. A tree is connected to the earth by its root. Akshara has no connection, or it does not need any connection to exist. It is totally independent. A varnam means it cannot be described. Words are inadequate to describe it. Achakshushrotram means Brahman has no sense organs of his own. Apanipadam, Brahman has no organs of action. Brahman does not need the sense organs, does not need the organs of actions to function. We do. Well, you see, this has been the definition of Aksharam based on what it is not. Let us try to see in the second part of that verse. Second part of the verse, which is Nityam Vibhum Sarvagatam Susukshmam Tat Avyayam Yat Bhuta Yonim Paripashyanti Dhira. It is Nityam, meaning it is constant, it is changeless, it is beyond limitations of time, space, causation. It exists beyond limitations of time, just past, present, and future. Because it is changeless, it is constant. Vibhum means it is everywhere. It simultaneously exists everywhere, and therefore it is sarvagatam. It permeates everything. No element can create a barrier for its existence. It is susukshmam, meaning that it is subtlest of the subtle. Therefore, the realized one, dhiraha, perceive the presence of aksharam in bhuta yoni. Bhuta yoni means diversity of existence, all the living beings, all the living creatures. So the second part of this verse, Nityam Vibhum Sarvagatam Susukshmam Tat Avyayam Yat Bhuta Yonim Paripashyanti Dhira. So in response to Mahashala Shaunaka's question of, is there one thing in this world knowing which everything else becomes known? Rishi Angirasa did not give a direct answer saying that Paravidya is what you need, but showed to Shaunaka that before understanding what Paravidya is, one needs to understand Aparavidya. Paravidya is the sublime knowledge. Aparavidya is not so sublime knowledge, but one must first understand that knowledge which is indispensable, that knowledge which is called Aparavidya. So mere 65 stanzas of Mundak Upanishad will give one general understanding of our true nature, who we are. First two chapters, and each chapter has got sub-chapters. So total 4 sections that they're devoted to Aparavidya and Paravidya. But one needs to dive deeper in order to gain this knowledge experientially, by way of self-exploration, meditation, supported by right living, right thinking. The third chapter of Mundaka Upanishad and the first part of the third Mundaka gives an example, beautiful example. I'm sure many of you have heard that. Let us understand the first 2 stanzas of the third chapter, which have a poetic example of 2 birds living in a tree. This example shows our normal life, occasional desire for spiritual life, or desire to understand our true nature. And once we start on that journey, or somehow are forced on that journey because of circumstances, how does that journey conclude? All explained in the just 2 verses. Let me read these 2 beautiful verses. Dva suparna sayuja sakhaya samanam vriksham purusha swajate tayor anyah pippalam swadvatti anashnan anyo abhichakashiti. Samane vrikshe purusho nimagno anishaya shochati muyyamanaha jushtam yada pashyati anyam isham asya mahimanam iti vitashokaha. My teacher, my master, Paramahamsa Hariharanandaji, whose picture you can see behind me there on the wall. These were his favorite verses, and he had given meaning of these verses. He has taught this meaning to us. There is this tree on which 2 birds are sitting. Okay, they are related because it says Sakhaya. Dwa means 2, Suparna, beautiful birds. They are related. One is on the highest branch, one is on the lower branch. Higher bird and the lower bird, if you can call that. Lower bird is surrounded by fruits of that tree, some sweet, some bitter. The lower bird is eating the fruits. He sees a nice plum fruit, pecks at it, finds it sweet, very sweet, eats it, happy, looks around. Another fruit just like that, hops over there, pecks at it, eats it, very sweet fruit. So in this way, he's going around, and all of a sudden he comes across fruit that is bitter, pulls back, stops eating, looks up at the higher bird on the upper branch. The bird is not eating. Anashnan, anyo, the other one is not eating. He's not eating any fruits. Abhichakashiti, just looking very regally at the top of the tree. Lower bird gets attracted to that bird. He says that this is beautiful. He doesn't need to eat any fruits. He's just sitting there. He's not moving. I want to get that stage. So he hops over to the higher branch, starting a journey to reach that bird on the highest part of the tree. But it happens like all the time happens to us. Looks around, there are beautiful fruits there. So he again starts to peck, eat, peck, and eat. There are some fruits that are sweet, some fruits that are bitter. He pulls back, again looks at the upper bird, again moves up a couple of branches. So this way he's going on in his journey until he tastes an especially bitter fruit. Gets a shock of his life, pulls back, now stops eating completely, really looks at the upper bird. And he looks that calm, serene. So he starts his journey with total determination to go approach that bird. Now, doesn't this describe life in general, our life? This is our journey, our life journey. Fruits are all events in our life, some good, some bad. We keep navigating our life through them until we bite a particularly bitter fruit. The event in our life about death of a dear one, or maybe our own recently diagnosed terminal disease. Then we tend to turn inward. At least some people do that, towards spirituality, towards religion. As the bird gets close to the higher bird, something miraculous starts to happen. They look exactly alike. As the lower bird gets closer to the higher bird, it seems his own plumage starting to fall off. And suddenly, the lower bird disappears and only the higher bird remains. In fact, there never was a lower bird. It was just the imagination of the higher bird. Let us try to understand what the tree, the lower bird, the higher bird, they represent. What does that mean? You see, we have three levels of existence, which are called physical body or sthula sharira, subtle body or sukshma sharira, and causal body or karana sharira. Now, this is not complicated and this is not theory. As we go into it, you will realize, yes, I can relate to that. The tree is the physical body. Both the tree and the physical body, they go through 6 stages of modifications in life. Even before birth, they exist in seed, asti. Then they are born, jayate. They grow, vardhate. Then they come to a plateau, viparinamate. Then the decay starts, apakshiyate, old age starts to set in. And finally they die, vinashati. So both the tree and the physical body, sthula sharira, they go through these 6 stages of modification. What is subtle body? It's not something mysterious. Subtle body is, say, 17 parts. And these parts are 5 objects of sense organs. Listen, objects of sense organs, not the sense organ. Sense organs are part of the physical body, so they're covered by the physical body. What are the objects of sense organs? Well, sense organs we know: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin. So what is the object of eyes? Sight. Object of ears? Sound. So this way, you understand, these are the objects, so which is part of the subtle body. So 5 objects of sense organs, 5 objects of motor organs or organs of action. Hands, feet, well, we cover those. Hands, feet, mouth, organs of procreation and elimination. So they're objects. Then there are 5 pranas, pancha pranas. Prana, apana, samana, vyana, udana. What are these pranas? Not imagination. These are the energies within the body which are required for physiological functioning of the body, like breathing, digesting food, converting it to energy, making the blood flow, converting that digested food into our body. There are many functions, physiological functions like that. And that is why there are 5 different types of energies, pranas. Then there are 2 more. We covered 15, right? 5 objects of 5 sense organs, objects of organs of action, and 5 pranas. So these are 15. Then there are 2 more that are mind and intellect. Function of the mind is to complete the act of perception, started by the sense organs. How and why? A simple example that I give, and many people give. See, if you love a book and you are reading the book, you are completely absorbed in reading that book. Somebody calls you and you do not hear it. You really do not hear it. Why? Why does that happen? Somebody calling you has generated the sound wave, they hit your eardrums. But what happens? Why that sound does not get registered? Because your mind is attached to the eyes in the act of reading. Mind is not attached to the ear. That is why you do not hear that. So to complete the action of perception through the sense organs, you need to have the mind attached, mind with that sense organ. So that is why mind is very important. Function of intellect is to analyze and understand the perception. So mind and intellect, they're very important. While the physical body is visible to all, functioning of the subtle body is only visible to individual and not to others. But it's not a mystery. We can relate to all that. We go a little inside and we can start to perceive those subtle organs. Then there is the causal body. Causal body, which is complete blankness. We experience that too. We experience that in deep sleep, dreamless sleep. In deep sleep, what happens? We experience that there is no mind. There is no intellect. When there is no mind, there cannot be any perception. So we do not understand anything. We do not perceive anything. Only when we wake up, we say that I do not know what happened, but I slept so soundly. I did not know anything while I was sleeping. I just feel completely rested, refreshed. But Vedanta calls this state as ignorance or avidya. Why avidya? Because it has the veiling property to cover our true nature, which is divinity. This blankness covering our divine nature. That is why it is avidya. So we have covered the physical body, subtle body with 17 elements, causal body. Then there are two more. There is awareness, without which we cannot perceive anything. This awareness, without this awareness, I cannot speak with you, you cannot hear me. So that awareness, which is very important, that awareness is called reflected consciousness, or in Sanskrit, it is called chidabhasa. When it is called reflected consciousness, that means there has to be the original consciousness. That original consciousness is called Sakshi Chaitanya. Sakshi Chaitanya, Chidabhasa. So what have we covered? We covered physical body, and we already talked about physical body is like the tree in that shloka. We said, what is the lower bird? Lower bird, it has got Sukshma Sharira, subtle body, Karana Sharira, and Chidabhasa. These three elements combined together, that is the lower bird. And then the higher bird, Anashnan Anne Abhichakashiti. Now that bird is Sakshi Chaitanya. So he said that the tree is the physical body, subtle body, causal body, and reflected consciousness, the lower bird, and the pure consciousness is the higher bird. You see, lower bird is called Karta and Bhokta, meaning it is always doing something and it is experiencing the results of the action. Higher bird is called the witness, called Sakshi, the witness consciousness or Sakshi Chaitanya. The lower bird does not know its true nature. We don't. As we saw, the lower bird has desire to eat fruits. Through that desire is born action. Action keeps us tied to the body and the mind. That is why it is called Nimagna. Next verse, it talked about Samane Vrukshe Purusho Nimagno. Similarly, on that tree, body tree, Purusha, that is Jivatma, is Nimagna, means it's completely absorbed, it's totally absorbed into the consciousness of body and the mind. That is Nimagna. You know how we are connected. We think that we don't say that we have the body, we say, I am the body. We put different labels on the body. Look, if you're sitting in a meeting, a very important meeting, and you just try to cross your knees and your knee hits a piece of metal under the table, what happens? That important discussion in that meeting is the concentration there. Immediately attention goes to the pain of the body. That's how body conscious we are. No matter how important the other things are, immediately we relate to the body. That is Nimagna. We are absorbed in our body consciousness and our consciousness of the mind. How are we absorbed with the consciousness of the mind? See, if somebody says, wow, you look good. You go on cloud 9, say, wow, beautiful. Somebody says, hey, you're an idiot. I get furious. I get angry. So my happiness, my misery, my problems, they're related to something external. They're connected to someone else. They're not coming from within. That's how our life is. And that's why it is called anishaya. Means that's why we are helpless. We're just body conscious, mind conscious. Our happiness, misery depends upon somebody else. We don't have control over that. So when in that situation, what happens? We are in pain, misery, shochati, regret, anxiety, suffering, and pain. At times, depression. What do all these things do to me? They make me muhyamana. Muhyamana means confused, deluded. Then what do? I try to make external changes. I try to change people around me. What do? I try to change my wife's attitude. I try to change my children's behavior. I try to give different values to my friends. Say, this is not right, that is not right, this is what you should do. Look, with all the baggage that I carry from my prior births, it's hard to change myself. And I'm trying to making effort to change others. Impossible, right? I try to change my surroundings. How do I change the surrounding? I'm living in 1-bedroom apartment. I try to go into a 2-bedroom apartment. Maybe that happiness is hidden in the 2nd bedroom someplace. I try to buy a new car, buy new clothes, looking for happiness, looking for peace. Does that give me peace, happiness? Impossible. No, momentary pleasure maybe, but muhyamana, deluded. All these efforts are with that kind of attitude, based on that attitude, until what? Until a word, a single word in the scripture, a teacher, a guide, or a guru shows the way. Jushtam yada pashyati anyam isham asya mahimanam iti vitashokaha. What drives away that misery? The teaching of the realized master. Jushtam means the adorable one that comes along and shows me the way. And because of that, wisdom, my sorrow, my pain, my delusion disappears. Just like when the lower bird made an effort, conscious effort, to approach the higher bird and found its true identity. Separateness disappeared. Look, we are better equipped than the birds, right? We have intelligence. We can take small steps, call it by any name, but we can start believing in that superior existence, Aksharam or Brahman. We can pray to that divine presence. We can slowly start to convert our actions into service to help others. and gradually learn to go beyond our egocentric attitude and adopt the attitude of helping and serving. All these efforts will give us peace of mind and some measure of fulfillment in life. It will be the perception of Aksharam or Brahman in everything that we interact with. Look, a very simple exercise. When we look in the mirror, what happens? We see the image, right? And we relate to that image. But we forget that there is a face standing behind the image, standing behind the mirror or in front of the mirror, without which that image is not possible. So just transform that image into the object, relate it to yourself rather than looking into it. This could be the beginning. This could be the beginning of something new. Thank you very much. Let me conclude with a mantra, my concluding chant. Please close the eyes with me. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. That Brahman is infinite. This manifestation of that Brahman is also infinite. This manifestation comes from that infinite, and this manifestation, if we can see that infinite in that manifestation, infinite alone remains. Om peace, Om peace, Om peace. Thank you all. I bow to you all.